Oh Jason, you came and you found me a turkey on your vacation away from work.
This is the Platform Podcast with B-Bad and Brandon.
And welcome back to episode 11? Yeah, episode something.
11, we got it.
We got 11 of the Platform Podcast. We are your hosts, Brandon Greco and Johnny B-Bad, and we are joined by very special guests today, all the way from the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken. I can't even pronounce your last name. I don't want to.
So far, so good.
Johannes Egberts.
Johannes Egberts.
Oh, he said that way smoother.
Sounds way cooler than
Yeah, he said that so
English.
smoothly. I fell a little in love.
Joe.
Joe. We'll just go with Joe for today.
Joe will work.
So before we get into any big questions,
Now, this is the big question.
this is the big question. Johnny?
So, we're going to ask you 21 words is all you're allowed to answer it with.
I don't know if I can count that far.
I will count.
Oh, no, okay. I feel like I need to take over the counting duties.
You can count.
I will count.
I will ask the question.
Yeah, fair.
21 words, he will count. No more, no less. The ifs, the ends, the buts,
All ums.
all the
count.
arms are all counted. This is a really big question. Who you are and what do you do?
Starting from now.
First word.
I am a man trying to be better.
You're
I
at 6.
teach people how to breathe, how to deal
10.
with the everyday stresses of life,
That's 5.
and
15.
become better in the process.
It's 20.
Okay.
Wow, that's actually...
Sweet.
That was probably the best one we've had.
Yeah. Sorry, Luke Polly.
Luke Polly got done again.
It's one breath. I thought it's just. If I
And
get
you did it in one
I'll
breath.
Keep 20 words. I think that's yeah.
That works out about right.
If I'd get that on average, I'd be doing much better than I am. Generally.
That was really good, actually.
So breathing's everything for you, bro?
It's landed there.
Yeah.
Not exactly sure how, but yeah, and it unpacks everything is what's interesting about it. You know, everything starts with the breath. That's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
And funny enough, through really looking at this and continuing to do so, everything started to make sense as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, it starts with a bit of self-regulation and some insights and some optimization and being better and sexier and bigger and stronger and fitter, but also smoother in the way I operate, in the way I do things, in the way I think. But looking at it, and if you really want to look at it, you have to look at everything, because everything is breath, right? And then, yeah, it started to show me a lot of the dots along the way backwards, unpacking a lot of my past and a lot of things that happened to me, and yeah, through this breathing thing, man.
That's cool. When did you first come across it? What was your first experience with, playing around with some breathing drills, or what did you hear of it somewhere, or what was it for you?
Yeah, they say there's 2 forms of breathing, right? There's breath awareness or conscious breathing. And I think I started learning about the breath awareness side of things through maybe yoga practice, which was quite an achievement at the time, maybe 7 years ago or so. Walked
how
into
old
a
are you
yoga
now?
class, and I would have been about 18, 19 on my own here in Australia. Yeah,
Wow.
just walked into a yoga class. Not sure what the exact purpose of it was, but there's this moment at the end of a yoga class where you just lay there for 5 minutes, right? And that's an amazing feeling if you've never felt that before. That's really powerful, and it's kind of what kept me coming back. But there's also this notion, this idea that we pay attention to the breathing, right? We watch it and sometimes change it, not so much in modern yoga, but yeah, just starting to observe and watch it, and different meditation practices that are attached to that as well, like from the Buddhist traditions where you're sitting and observing the breath. And I picked up some ideas from some audiobooks and different things, like, okay, let's watch the breath and let's count it and let's play with it. That was all good and well, but it never really got a hook into me. It wasn't, I don't think it had enough of a clear solution in the way they presented it. It was like, well, it's this ephemeral thing about, the breath and then the way it, yokes everything, and yeah, cool, but what's the, where's the point? What does it actually give me? And then I was working for, not sure exactly what happened first, but I was working for the #1 wilderness resort in the world. This was in Sumba Island, Indonesia. Wild. Yeah, had the last human sacrifices there 9 years ago or something. What? Yeah, it's insane.
Holy fuck.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
No. Animals. Yeah, animals. But when the king dies, or when the chieftain dies, everybody will want to die with him. So
Really?
they will. And now they bring, when I was there, it was 100 oxen
Yeah.
600 chickens, pigs, like, and they just,
Top
and they, it's a whole day. Blood is the culture. When blood flows, things are fertile. Everything is blood. So the festivals are, we beat each other with stones and blood. Anyway, I don't want to get too sidetracked here. But
Damn.
We're all about sidetracks, so we'll go down any
we have no
tracks.
I've got a few tracks, but so there was freediving there.
Wow.
And that was new. And that was interesting. And so I kind of had this, when I'm traveling, I'm in this mode of like, I'm more open to things. And when I see something like an omen, and I picked up this thing about freediving, I met an instructor there. And yeah, it started this idea for me. And a couple of weeks later, I went to my first freediving course. And I did 3 in a row. And and that was cool because essentially, and I still have this view today, freedivers are like, they're the most, I really respect them, I really look up to them. And in all the things breathing, and there's many different people doing different things, they're the best, they're king if you ask me.
They've got absolute control over it, right?
They've got autonomous control, yeah. And that's when it started to make sense to me. So that's when the conscious breathing comes in. Conscious breathing is using the breath in a particular way to obtain a particular result. And being aware of the particular protocols that you can then use. And these guys, that I heard the other day, there's a freediver that's been able to drop his heart rate while sitting 30 meters on the water to 6 beats a minute, right?
What?
Yeah.
For how long?
Yeah. Well, I don't know for how long, but they'll hang there for about, the good guys, for about 4 minutes or so as a practice. And that's when you really get into different zones of consciousness and slow down.
Meditative state.
Very deep. But practical. Like to me, this was like, okay, cool. So I can get down there and it's instant too, because if you're not getting into those slower states, if you're not slowing down your heart rate, if you're not showing control, if you're not using the breathing practices, it's hell. Like you're immediately getting very reactive and your mind's throwing you everywhere and you are very locked. It's a kind of, even though it's the most open, deep, wonderful, watery environment, it's very claustrophobic at the same time. Yeah. Because it's just you in your head. That's all you're really feeling, even though you have a nice view, right? And you feel this pressure on your, it's quite full on down there. So you really get thrown back into your thoughts. And then you learn, what they teach you is that, with the breath, you can slow yourself down, and that's the whole process. And also that you cannot push to do more. And this was a new concept because I'd always been pushing to do more, right? Whether it was lifting weights or whether it was doing silly team sports or martial arts or things like that. There's always an idea that if you push harder, you'll get more results, right? It's this kind of the nature of the way we sometimes see things. And in freediving, that absolutely does not work.
You can't get any more air down there.
No, and if you push harder, you'll use more oxygen and you'll get way less out of it, right? So it's about softening into getting more, and it's about getting out of the way and learning to surrender and let go so that you can get further. So the guys that are the best are not the guys that are pushing the hardest. They're actually really having to be thrown onto their emotional state. It's essentially not just a physical sport, but it's an everything sport. So the emotional level plays into it very much. So that was fascinating, and I got into it for quite a bit. I was really into it, and I loved it. It takes full commitment, is what I really noticed, and it's why to this day I'm sort of either fully in or fully out. At the moment I'm fully out. Don't ever do it except for just breath protocols in the pool every day a little bit to keep sort of my mind fit. But no diving whatsoever. It really requires full commitment in terms of lifestyle. It's very hard to...
What sort of depths would you go to if you were...
the max was sort of pushing towards was 40 for me. That was about it. So... you can get to 20 with a good instructor and a little bit of ability and insight and just being a good swimmer, competent in like 4 days of full training. Like,
really?
Yeah. Anybody can reach 20 physically, right? That's not really the problem. Little tricks on how to equalize and how to calm down your breathing and breathe up, how to slow everything down beforehand and get down, a little bit of visualization, just a couple little tricks and you'll get there. Not that hard. But then when you go further, it becomes a little bit more technical. And it also becomes a little bit more, that's when you start to meet yourself. Yeah. So when you start pushing beyond 30, it starts to really, it's not so fun anymore. Yeah. It really isn't. And anyone that goes below 40 is, there's a form of masochism maybe, but it's maybe also just, there's a real level of commitment. Like I never went much deeper than that. And
it's a long way to come back up.
Well, that's yeah. The going down is where because you're thinking about that going up, and the going up bit is where but it's technical at that point too. So it becomes very hard to use the air that you do have, and it becomes very difficult to, after about 25, 28 meters towards 30, you don't have any air left in your lungs.
Really?
Yeah, because of the pressure. So you're at 4 bar pressure at 30 meters, so your lungs are compressed to about the size of a big tennis ball.
Oh, wow.
So all the air is actually squeezed out of you, the air that you can take down, right? And you're using that air to equalize. That's the problem. So you're pushing it out, and then you get this. And if you don't equalize, massive pressure, headache, your mask is squeezed to your face. It feels terrible, right? So it's not about the swimming down and the coming up. It's more about the usage of the air and equalization in the process down, which is really tricky because there's always a thought in the back of your mind like, well, I could hurt myself, I could pop my eardrum, I could have something occur that's gonna set me back. And there's always a bit of fear about, maybe I did something wrong this morning, maybe I ate the wrong thing, maybe I had too much coffee, so there's something going on, whereas by the process won't occur. And then when you get deeper, it becomes technical, so you have to learn to keep some of the air in your mouth, for example. It's called mouthfeel, and you'll be able to, all the way down there, transmute air from your mouth to your lungs, and then use that to blow the pressure off your mask and to equalize your ears. And it's tricky, man.
That is real tricky.
And you're doing that under some real pressure, because you're down there and it's like 30 meters deep, and you've got this, you're looking a bit like this, like trying to paint a picture of it. It does feel quite contracted. It doesn't feel nice. You're upside down as well, and all you see is nothing. Like at that point, you're not watching anything. Maybe a rope, but usually not even. Eyes closed, and so it's a very feeling exercise. So along those lines is where the breath became real, because there was a bunch of people that were really inspiring and that were really, I trained with Tahitian world champion and a couple of other people, and these guys just have full control over their body to a certain level, and not just that, because you see how that would play into someone's life. Like that's to me, that's the art of living, is having that real control over your state, your emotions, and the way you fully aware and watching every heartbeat and being able to control that little system, and you need to be very aware of what you're doing too. It's a sport where you can't push through. So if you eat the wrong thing, you can get away with it in most sports. Let's be honest. Like you can do a Big Mac. You can do a Big Mac.
I'll probably do one tomorrow.
We could do 2.
Yeah. You can do
it
5, and you you probably kind of pay for it at some level, but not really. Whereas with freediving, like you'll pay for it.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You can't smoke.
And the price can be high down there.
You can't drink. Even coffee, even dairy.
Really?
Yeah. Mostly veganism, no dairy. Some people can, but it costs muchas.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's interesting, those kind of decisions, and that's part of the reason why I'm not in it now, because fuck it, it's full commitment.
That's full commitment.
But I really admire that, and that's the breath for you right there, because that's what it's all about. And then they use the yoga practices in such a way that it actually makes sense, because we're using this practical idea, and this is why we're doing it, this is how you get the instant result, and here's a way to apply it. That's when it became more interesting.
Yes.
Because yoga as a practice is like, you look at yoga, it's not a full breathing regime. Like it's not got the full, as you said before, you're taking the theory and then applying it to the free diving in that scenario. Is that where you kind of learned those full yoga practices and you kind of could be able to apply those concepts more? Or
Yeah, I think so. I think what they do mostly is, because freedivers are very intellectual. Like even though they're feeling-based people, they're very heady people, they're very nerdy. And what they do is they pick all the good stuff from everywhere. Yeah. And they battle-proof it, with themselves as the guinea pigs. But so they take the yoga protocols that work, basically. And the ones that don't work and are kind of like esoteric, out age, they scrap immediately. Like it just goes in the bin, because if it's not useful, if it doesn't have actual results, if you can't see it, feel it, then we don't use it. So they took all the good stuff, I think, is what they did. Along principles. So they have principles, and the protocols that fit inside those principles stay. And a bit of education around it too. Now, yoga is, I love yoga. I do yoga every day. But it's also good to be aware a little bit of what do you mean by yoga? That's a tricky question these days. You don't have to read very far into the history, which is quite a fascinating story to realize that, it was the 1950s when we got yoga, right, in LA, or in India, but then it was brought to LA, and then that's what we're doing, and it's quite different than the original system, and even though they went along those lines with the creation of it, but in the yoga, the system of yoga, right, the system towards enlightenment, the system towards the full human, the fourth pillar was breath, pranayama. So yama, niyama. So interestingly enough, first is about being a good human, having good values and not doing bad things. And then you start to do the asana. So then you work on the physical body to set you up for straight, strong posture, in control, health. And once you got that one, you go to the next one, which is the breath. And the breath control really is the control of energy, the control of life, essentially. Life force flowing through the body, the control of the breathing, pranayama. And then they had this whole system around, breathing. And it's kind of vague, but there were lots of breathing exercises already back in those days that are still kind of useful today. Yeah. And also, truth be told, some totally aren't. Like, it's outdated, bro. Like, it's just the truth, Just because it was in those texts back in those days, like, with the science and stuff that we now have, it's also good to be kind of real and be like, look, maybe they didn't know everything back then. They had some interesting insights, and they were way ahead of some of the stuff that we know now. Yeah. But, there's also certain things that we do, that we know now, that can be like, cool, so we can actually just change that. We don't have to be dogmatic about it.
Yeah.
Just some thoughts on yoga, but ultimately, it does keep coming back to that system in an interesting way, I think, where you're walking towards. I think the eighth limb is enlightenment, essentially, or meditation is what you sort of walk towards, right? Being able to sit in a meditative posture, having the clean mind and the clean body, and having everything unified, so that you can then do what is the art of meditation, so that you can then have the clear channel to receive and communicate, and whatever the result of that might be.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty cool. And so from that experience there with the freediving and stuff, what took you next for the adventure? Like, because obviously now you're instructing and teaching some people and stuff, but what got you to here?
Well, so I guess for the listeners that don't know, that you're a Wim Hof Method instructor.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we don't want to touch too much on it because we really want to know about you. So we'll put the links in the show notes and stuff for Wim Hof. But how did you get from freediving to then exploring and wanting to share your experiences, I guess, with others?
Yeah, man, and it's what I do. So it's definitely in there. It's been an amazing journey. But it would have been about 4 years ago that I then first saw a bit mished in all those experiences, but I learned about the Wim Hof Method, and I think it was more desperation rather than inspiration that got my foot in the door, which I'm really grateful for. But there was certain experiences that happened, and part of the way I was living and the things I was doing, and I was traveling the world, and I was having kind of these moments and these experiences that were just quite incredible. But it was always me. It was by myself. I was doing things my way. I wasn't really letting people in as well, and I was burning a lot of candles both ends, and just I was living for me, essentially. I wasn't a good person, and I did things for my own gain and my own benefit, and I hurt myself most of the time, but also other people in that process. And that was all good and well up to a certain point, but I reached one point where I think it was just the last drop. It was the last bit that just made everything go, and I just crashed on myself. So I hurt someone else, someone that I loved, and I just did not have the resources to deal with that at all. I did not have the emotional competence. I did not have the level of insight, awareness as to what happened, and most of all, I just couldn't fucking communicate about it. I just couldn't tell anyone what had happened. I didn't have anyone to just share that honestly, truthfully with, and that's what I most needed, just an empathetic witness there, or a support group or community of people that could be with me and help me deal with that trauma, basically. So I just completely locked up, physically locked up, mentally locked up, couldn't speak about it, couldn't express myself,
You're just frozen in that point.
Actually frozen.
Almost like an anxiety.
Full blown, and it was quite physical. It was quite visceral, and to the point where I remember just feeling my throat locked up and having this heartbeat and wanting to cry, but not really knowing why, and also not knowing how to cry.
Exactly, anxiety. As soon as you get that lock up, it's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, what do you
Can't
do?
anything.
I found myself. The low point was in Kuala Lumpur with about 10 pills of Valium, and it's just one night where, it's just by myself, and then I was actually sort of on the way home. So I went back to the Netherlands. I hadn't been there in quite a long time. And this is when I got introduced to this practice through my brother, who's quite a legend. Took me to the cryotherapy studio, the first one in Amsterdam at the time. Right?
Yeah, right. Had you done much cold stuff before that? Not really.
I I did, but I don't think it was as conscious. So some of it was involuntary, some of it was voluntary, and I'd been through some like pretty interesting things, but I wasn't really the fact of doing it consciously, I think, changed it, where it's like, well, cool, so we're choosing to do this, and we're choosing to sort of like with maybe a higher level of awareness where you're actually like watching yourself as you're doing it. That was different. And so you walk into this freezer, it's big, kind of like a food freezer, like in hospitality, where it's minus 130. And first you go into the minus 90 chamber, and then you open the door and you go to the minus 130, and the first breath you take, the whole thing just whoosh, like it's a fog.
What did that feel like first time?
I think I didn't even like, I think I just,
what the fuck is this?
Yeah. I wasn't really willing to deal with it. But I remember like starting to shiver a bit and like physically shiver and having these tears frozen on my face. So it was this interesting moment where, like you're saying with the freeze response, like it kind of cracked through some of that, and it kind of like there was something there where I was like, oh shit, like I'm a little bit more here, right? And then afterwards you bounce on these little rebounders, and it's kind of like funny. It's this little thing that you do, but it was interesting. I felt a little bit maybe sharper.
Yep.
Maybe just more aware. And then what followed was this breathing technique, right?
Yeah.
This local guy called Wim Hof lives in a living boat somewhere on the Amsterdam canals and swims in these canals, which is
what?
It's crazy because it was winter. It was winter at the time. It was really cold. It was also disgusting. Like, no wonder the guy has a good immune system. So swims in the Amsterdam canals at night, but there's a story about it, and there's a beautiful video on YouTube, very cinematic, and it's amazing. The cold. It heals. It's very hard not to get like emotional when you're watching this stuff.
Yeah,
it was beautifully done.
And you're just like, I need to meet this guy.
I relate it. Yeah, I relate. He was real. He was raw. He wasn't done up. Had a story. Had insights. Yeah, I remember in the video he's walking through the streets of Amsterdam and talking to these people, and you're kind of just like, wow, this is average Joe, basically. Like you recognize this guy.
Yeah,
could be anyone. Could be the council worker that you see. Like that's what he looks like. It's what he actually is like as well as a person.
You're right.
Yeah. But yeah, there's breathing technique, and so cool. What have I got to lose? I'll try it. Right. Yep. Still in this kind of state where I hadn't really expressed any of it, and just was at a loss for what to do next. I had some big decisions to make at the time too. So into this breathing exercise where it was, look, you breathe in deep, and there wasn't really any guidance to it. It's just like you basically breathe deep, and you do that, and it's like a meditation or whatever. And the lights went out after about 5-10 minutes of breathing deep, and you off, and the music and this feeling and not really know what happened at the time, but coming back and again there was just tears on my face, and it was this little moment of dropping down from that tension, that locked upness, into something a bit deeper. And what was quite significant is that I was seeing these lights. I was seeing these like kaleidoscope or like a white light. I'm probably distorting it in my memory. It was like a white light there. And there was just something so metaphorical about it, because I've actually had this moment where I just felt really good and clear for the first time in a couple of weeks, where I was just like, wow, okay, cool. This is me. This is my center. This is the namaste that we're talking about, right? And the lights sort of meant, yeah, cool, you can come back here. Like this is yours. And so I've actually done that breathing pretty much every day since then.
Wow.
And to this
So
day,
you kind of almost found what you were searching for. Almost, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. But it didn't. It's not like it was that in that moment. But it started to. It was just like, okay, this is something that can get me back to me. This is something that will help me. Like I need something.
Yeah.
Right. I need something. And so I did it every day. And I moved back over to this side of the world. And it was quite tough at the time. I was always by myself. And yeah, but I did this breathing every day. So I had about 20 minutes a day where I was with myself, and I was with these lights and these shapes and this state and this feeling, and this guy that was talking me through this thing and saying like, you can heal everything and you've got full control. And it was like, it was an interesting time and moment. But ultimately it did, through that process, open up so much of the conversation and so many of the questions that I needed to ask myself.
Yeah.
And I think other things could have done that too, but this just happened to be associated with a bunch of really good people.
Yeah.
A bunch of really good people, man. Everybody that I met through this is just amazing, and it's fucking crazy because since the start of this year, I've already met thousands of people through this. I'm going around the world sharing this, and it attracts the right people and attracts the right conversation. It's just the right blend of reaching out, asking for help, but also taking personal control and having just the right mindset. It's such a beautiful thing.
Do you find it's a lot of people that attracts that are looking kind of in the same position you were, looking for that, I guess, a way to express a little bit more and connect with themselves more? Because what it sounds like you are talking about is when you're having those experiences and you're finding your center, as you said, and you're resetting yourself every day. You're finding that point where you go, cool, this is where I need to be to move forward. As you said, you're in that shitty place you were in, and you're moving away from that pain point and moving into that pleasure, and you're just like, fuck, this is what I need. This is what I need to attract every day. Do you find those people are coming to these seminars?
Yes. Yes, I do. I think that I attract a certain type of person as well. So I do a lot of seminars, see a lot of people, and it's really hard to pinpoint who comes. Like, that's the one question I can't answer, because you saw it today. There's an 18-year-old and there's a 70-year-old, and there's everything in between. And if you were to go and ask what kind of professions, what kind of backgrounds, what kind of ethnicities, it's just all over the place. You can't try and put it on the one line. There isn't any. And that's maybe one of the reasons why I'm so attracted to this particular method. I've trained in quite a few different methods now, right? And some of which are really interesting in saying new things, and some of which are just repackaging things and saying it in a different way. But really what the methods represent are a culture a lot of the time. That's what I've learned just from going out, and I'll still continue to seek out anyone that I find interesting. But that they are a culture, right? There is a certain type of person that gets attracted to the way the message is being put out there. And the way that people are living it and what they represent and who the figurehead is. Whereas with this one, yes, there's also a certain culture, but it's very open. It's very, very inclusive, and that's quite amazing. That really is quite special. So it's quite hard to see who gets attracted to this. So we have people with severe illness that are going through some very serious stuff. We have people that are in the extreme best health they've ever been and just want to top it up and keep looking for more, right? And everything in between, and every level of experience and skill and ability as well. Like there is no exclusion in there. Is what's quite cool about it. So you will never feel left out within it.
That's got to be cool to have such a exciting group of people that come through.
Yeah, it really is. And what does happen then is, like, for example, I'm on these retreats or on these programs where it's like an advanced program, for example. Like becomes a bit more specific, also teaching different things, different insights, and then the people that would continue that journey and come to that, I think they are the ones that really feel what I'm about and the message that I'm trying to share, and then the way that I communicate, and not just me, my team as well. They're all very much living from the same place, which is beautiful. So that's when it gets a bit more towards, maybe we start to see certain, because someone will resonate with the story that I'm telling, 100%. And someone won't. And that's cool. And that's, you gotta find who that is that you resonate with. And what I am learning now in this process, and mainly by speaking to people that have been doing this for a much longer time than myself, is the power of clear intent and a clear niche though. So you can find niches within everything. Like, I think for you guys the same. Like as
100%
powerlifting trainer, you'll still have a niche within that is actually really what your core
niche
is
within that culture.
Yeah, and I'm learning to find mine. And maybe there's many, and I can just be a guide in some of them. But I think the intent of doing work within that sub niche, like when you really grit it down, that's when some powerful stuff starts to occur.
100%.
Yeah.
Because you can see, like, from what you've said, like, you're directing a lot of people, as I said, away from that pain towards this, ideal of who they can be. And I'm sure you've experienced that with your breathing as well. Like, you would have had this idea of going back from, like, listen to your story resonates with myself a lot,
Right.
Being a shit person, doing things to not necessarily intentionally hurting others, but unfortunately that's the outcome, to a point where you need to make a change. And for yourself, it was this breathing and this the cold room cryotherapy, was it? Yeah, sorry, I was like, too many cold things these days. But you can see, like, you're really on this path just to guide people to this ideal of you can be better, which is a really cool message to put out there, and obviously you are attracting that, which is awesome, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Those retreats, you've touched on a little bit today when I was down doing your
Well, you're coming.
seminar
I've
today.
already put you down.
Yeah, it's happening.
Yeah.
Just the idea of climbing Mount Kosciuszko on my undies sounds amazing.
It's pretty cool, man.
You'll do anything to be in your undies, though.
Yeah.
Or you actually do nothing just to be in your undies.
Yeah.
I don't think that will be. I think that will. I had someone say yesterday at my seminar, some friend of mine in Noosa that came and shared a bit about his journey since meeting me a year ago, right? And he said being on top of the mountain in my undies was the least spectacular part of the experience. Looking back, I think you might resonate with it too when you go. Cause
Yeah, cool.
You can do that.
Because
You've climbed enough mountains.
Yeah, I've been up. Yeah, that lasts for a few days, doesn't it?
The high?
You didn't know the whole trip itself.
Yeah. At the moment it's just a weekend actually.
Yep.
We do some that are a bit longer, but this one here in the Snow Mountains is just a weekend. Even if you boil it down, it's about 50 hours.
Yep.
But there's a real deck. That's not like your average 50 hours.
That's an intense 50
There's a lot
hours.
happening in there, you know, and not just the intense cold. Like, yes, we'll get you up a mountain and we'll get you doing some experiences with cold that you just can't find anywhere else, you know, like where you can just mess with all the variables basically when you're in nature.
Yeah.
You know, getting out at night and going into places where you have no idea where you are. And it's beautiful and there's a view and there's a running water and it's fucking cold outside and it's like you get to get into this water. There's all these things. But I think really what I was trying to refer to, what he was sharing yesterday, is what he took away from it so much more is, the level of humanness that we show. And a quote that I do like, I think it's kind of from within the Wim Hof Method area, is that we're actually not trying to get you superhuman. Like, I'm not trying to get you with a cape on top of the mountain looking great. I'm trying to get you superhuman. I'd much rather have you be really honest with yourself and figure out why you can't make your way up, and then that's where we start working, you know, rather than you pushing through and being on top of this mountain without having learned the lessons within it.
Right.
And a lot of that is more when people come, it's about that, being superhuman, like being really real and really honest and really learning to, maybe like you're saying, express themselves, communicate what's going on at a deeper level, and that's
the process of being honest with yourself can be quite hard. Yeah,
and you find it through people. You do, I think. It's really hard to find things with yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
You definitely need other people to help guide you to where you need to go, and then give you simple direction. Like, I know for me, it was for my personal journey, was finding a psychologist who just taught me how to breathe. Literally, just taught me some breathing techniques, and that's where we started. And it sent me on this path to where I am now, where, like, anxious moment today with all this coronavirus and all everything up in the air, with Pro Raw next weekend, and all of a sudden I'm like feeling that tension, that anxious. Like, we were in the shopping center buying milk, and they were out of skim milk, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm gonna have a fucking panic attack. Like, they don't have skim milk. But then again, it just comes back to breath. Yeah. Finding my center again through breathing and remembering those techniques. So it's 100% resonate with what you're saying, man. It's fucking sick.
It's a great example, man. Yeah. Just those little moments, because like that's what we're left with. We've got the stories and the memories and these things, but ultimately it's just little moments and double little moments. And if you can find some control, and if you,
especially
I feel that a lot myself.
Navigate through that chaos and just find that center point, man, people live such a better quality of life.
Yeah, I do think so. If you can make a few different decisions during the day, see things a little bit clearer.
I love what you do, though. There's 20 minutes a day of just breathing. Like, there's very many variances of what, you know, as you said, for many different techniques. But if I believe, people spend at least five minutes. Now, everyone has 5 minutes. Just spent breathing and checking in with themselves. We'd have a different culture.
It's so true, man.
So true.
So true. Because there's a very small percentage of people that will do that. And this technique would be, it's kind of hard. It's not really a black and white in terms of what the prescription would be. But you could do about 20 minutes a day, just one session a day to kind of, and it's quite amazing what it starts to unravel. Like, it opens up your entire, respiratory chain, essentially, from all the physical stuff to the physiological nodes to even some of those psychological patterns. Start to just make a few little changes, but set you up for success is at a very essential core. That's what it starts to do. You know, you'll make better decisions. You'll feel better. You'll be breathing deeper and more open. Diaphragms on.
You're going to feel better as soon as you start to feel more open. Less tension you have in your body. And you stand a little bit taller, you're going to feel a bit more confident.
Cascades.
Yeah, and it just snowballs into other aspects.
And that's maybe the magic of that little 20-minute a day session. You know, I mean, like, trust me, there's thousands of things. I'm still learning every day about what this shit does. But it is really powerful. It can also, like, for me, if it's 20 minutes a day, not really anymore. I definitely still do it once a day, and I'll sometimes it's just 5 minutes of that little thing, because that's actually all I need. It's just really to kind of get me back to that point that we're talking about, right? Like, I like it because we all know it. You know, you don't need to have. I don't need to describe it to you. You have yours.
You kind of sound like you stay pretty close to your center as well, which is pretty cool.
I don't know about that.
Maybe
when I'm presenting and I'm talking, I can paint a pretty nice picture. Yeah, but I try to. I'm not easily thrown off by nature as well.
Yep.
Like I've got a pretty good sense of self. I think is what I've developed in that way. So
you know who you are, and you're unapologetically you, and that's fucking great.
Yeah, that's maybe a bit more new as well. But cool. I really like that.
That's something that comes from knowing yourself and developing that.
Yeah, it's a really nice feeling. It's a really nice feeling. Just the overall. Like, imagine how much energy we're spending on trying to look good, you know, in life. It's insane. You go through your entire life trying to...
Or just how much time we're spending thinking about what the other people think, how we look.
Yeah, that's part of that process.
That's
It's
way too much time.
Everybody... Wow. It's an incredible amount of energy. If you can free all that up, it's pretty powerful.
What if we cancelled 20 minutes of social media just to work on ourselves?
Fuck, that would change out. Like, but that...
Maybe that's it. Do some breathing.
Like breathing, but I honestly believe like people just need to spend 10 minutes a day, and anyone listening, I challenge you to spend 5 minutes a day just breathing. You don't need a fucking app, you don't need a method, just breathe, sit there, check in and see how you feel.
That breath awareness.
Yeah, just get to know where you're breathing into.
Absolutely.
Because I can guarantee you, if you're breathing shallow, you're going to feel pretty heightened, a little bit anxious, but as soon as you start breathing a little bit deeper and slowing it down, just send us a DM, slide into my DMs and tell me how you feel. I challenge anyone who is listening, which should be everyone.
Yeah,
just
everyone.
Everyone. We think we're bigger than Rogan, aren't we?
My mum and your mum.
Johannes' mum, I'm hoping.
My mum's so going to get into this.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, no, honestly, guys, spend 5 minutes a day, just breathe, tell me how you feel.
Yeah. I know for me, after doing the first seminar with you, that I'd heard of the breathing stuff before, but never mucked around with it. Yeah. And then had an incredible experience doing the seminar with you. And then afterwards, there was a few days where I was like super stressed with work and stuff. I was like, I'm just going to try this. And without a doubt, brought me back to center, for lack of a better word. And then since that experience, obviously I see a lot of people, a lot of clients who deal with a lot of stress and stuff. First thing I give them now is, there's the Wim Hof, there's a bunch of links and stuff on there. And I was just like, hey, just trust me, try this. Yeah. Get in a quiet space, quiet room, when you feel your worst, or even if you can, start your day with it. And then, like Brando said, tell me how you feel later. It's been 100% hit rate. Everyone's come back to feeling great. Then, sometimes their stuff still gets a bit haywire later on, but the next day, bang, start again.
Yeah.
And then the day starts at zero again.
That's a really good point you bring up there. Is that a lot of people do this, get a good run of it, and then they were like, oh, fuck, life hits me again. You just go back to your center. But they get caught up in that, and then they just go on this like, nah, it doesn't work. Where it's like, no. If you brought yourself back just a little bit longer, just take a step back from it. Everything's going exactly according to plan. Breathe and move on.
Yeah, and be with it. And even if you just touch the eye of the storm, at least you know there's an eye, right? Because the storm can be very, very... Sometimes that's it for me too, man. And in that storm, and I'm just... Fucking, I just get to go to that eye for a moment, and I get to sit in that. But as soon as I open my eyes, like... whoosh, and that's okay, sometimes that's what it's like. But what's the beauty of it really is that you will come back to it. Yeah. And that's what I think you'll find with the guys that you're...
people think it's going to go forever. It's like, no, it's always there.
Yeah. Well, and there's practice too, right? So there's so many practices, so many things. There's thousands of things you could do, really. But we can explain to you why you should do them. I mean, this information's all out there. Everything's out there these days. It's not really anything new. Just having a good story and a good way of conveying it really helps, so that someone will actually go and try it.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
But this will get you feeling good.
Yeah.
Like, beyond all the other stuff that it does, right? Beyond all the benefits, all the things, you'll feel good. And fuck, we're monkeys.
That's a pretty good
we're monkeys
benefit.
on a ball of fire, right? and what does a monkey do when you give him the option to have the button to instantly, what was it, like ejaculate or masturbate or something? But he keeps pressing that button. And it's just, that's what we are. Anytime you can feel good, you're like, yeah. And here's now a different way that you can, when you release cannabinoids, like opioids, right? But doing this breathing, it's awesome. So you'll feel good. And that's the deepest motivation, man. That's what makes someone change. It's like, that's what makes them commit to this. And then as they start doing this and they start pressing that button and being like, okay, cool, I'll do my breathing. They might not even know why. They have no idea why they're doing this, but it's like, I feel good. So it is good, right? And that's when all the other stuff starts to take effect. And
everything else.
that's when I like to come in. Yeah. That's like where I can give the uppercut.
Yeah.
Try this.
Do this now.
Look at this little thing. One thing. And then
yeah, absolutely. Cool. And you do some cold water stuff yourself?
Yeah. I got into, I tried a bunch of different things. Got into cold water freediving as well.
Cold water freediving?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You're almost like
What's
an
that like?
extreme athlete, aren't you?
No, actually not at all, man. I'm a pussy. I really am, man. I couldn't run a fucking marathon even, let alone anything bigger than that.
No, we don't run.
Yeah.
No, but
do you ever see me run, you run too, because I'm running from something.
Yeah, but there's people that will have that natural drive to like really take themselves like far,
100%.
and it's just, they just have a different dialogue and they thrive on that, they dig that, I was hanging out with David Goggins not that long ago, and he's one of those, right? And I dig it. I dig the message, and I dig, I say hanging out, but yeah, we're both hosting something at this event, right? Yep. He was doing a workout, and then afterwards the people would jump into the ice, right? And you just get to watch this guy and his internal language, right? And the way that he speaks to people, but also himself, right? I'm definitely not like that.
He's full tilt, isn't he? He's
yeah, which is great, and you shouldn't expect any different, but it also doesn't really make him a nice person to hang out with. Like, it's just like, well, what do you expect? Here's a guy that's all about the values of working hard and being with you. Like, he's not going to stand there talk shit with you.
Yeah.
Oh, we're done. Okay, next
thing.
Straight back to his hotel room, write his book.
Really?
Yeah. Not a moment of hanging out with anybody, just doing exactly what he got paid for, and then exactly off the job immediately as he could. Yeah. Back down, writing his next book. I mean, that's what he's about, right? Like, you don't want him to do any different, because then
that's him.
Then that's not him, exactly. He's living his values.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the thing. And I mean, I'm happy to talk shit any day. So
yeah, well,
like, fuck, we could spend here for fucking hours just talking shit if we really wanted to.
I love it. But so cold. This ice free diving, I'll probably get back into it this year a bit when winter comes. But yeah,
how cold will the water be when you for free diving in it?
I don't want to say too much about it, because I'm just like trying to wrap my mind around this. There's a guy got Stick Saracen, and he's sort of the guy, right? He's a world champion freediver, and he did crazy shit. It's the sleds that used to the sleds back in the day. So the sleds are it's some people still do it, but it's not longer a discipline anymore. Yeah. So a sled is a machine.
You're right.
A device that you sit on, like a little playground machine. Yeah. And it torpedoes you on the water, and then it torpedoes you back up.
Down.
So instead of you swimming down, straight down. Instead of you swimming down and using the human effort, this was the thing to see how fucking deep can we get. Like, this was where freediving started to go. It started to become this real journey into like, what are the limits and who can do more? And so people were sitting on this thing, and then it shoots you down, and you pull out this balloon at the bottom, so and take this thing to prove that you've actually been there, and then it shoots you back up.
How deep are they getting with that?
This is Austrian guy, Herbert something. I don't know exactly what happened to him. He was somewhat of a miracle at some point. I think he got fully paralyzed, and I think he even... I shouldn't say this because I don't know, but I think there was even like a lot of mental damage that was done. But yeah, it didn't end well. Herbert Nietzsche is his name, I think. Well, I think he went... I'm almost trying to say 240 meters, but I might be completely wrong here. But they definitely the deepest record at the moment for swimming down is like 125 meters, right?
Just swimming.
Yeah, well, with gear, and the deepest without gear is just over 100. So that's someone with barefoot, nothing, swimming down. Yeah, as in like no fins, no anything, right? With a wetsuit, still. Yeah. I don't think he's done it without a wetsuit, although someone has gone really deep without a wetsuit too now, which is where the Stig guy comes in. So he's got the world record for swimming under ice, right? Wim had at some point also a world record, But that's the magic of Wim. Like, he's actually not a free diver. He barely knows how to.
He had the record without even being a free diver.
That's why it's so fucking amazing, man. Like, you watch this video and he's just like you don't swim like that underwater. It's ergonomically the most, like, it's completely wrong. It's completely wrong. Like, you don't go do froggy kick like you learned in grade school when you're trying to break the world record for swimming under fucking 2 meters of Arctic ice.
Fuck.
You know, there's a very streamlined technique to moving yourself. And he just did it. And he froze his retina. And like, there's this video. And so he swims to the other end of where the other hole is to come back out. And there's a safety diver there to grab him. But he froze his retina. So he doesn't see anymore. So he just keeps swimming. So he swims past the hole.
Oh, shit. Holy. That's a video up on the YouTube or what?
Yeah.
Jace, put that in. Find that.
Yeah.
That's legit.
Cool, man, yeah. And then they pull him out and he sits up. Yeah, he broke the world record. So I think his world record is a bit different because he wasn't actually free diving. He was just swimming. And then
Average Joe breaks record. Holy fuck.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Ran a marathon in Namibia without drinking water as well, which is like so. Just and same where you watch this video, ran a marathon above the polar circle in like sandals, and you watch this video and you're like, this guy doesn't like he's not.
He
a runner.
just runs like
he's not a runner. He runs like you. Like if you three would go for a run, it'd be pretty similar. Like it would not be a pretty sight, you know. But yeah, it's just the magic of it. It's just like yes, like let's just do it, you know. Anyway, this guy Stig. He was actually like competing in this stuff, right? And some people are still competing in it now, but not very many people. They're trying to swim like very long distances without wetsuits on the water, right? And this is where like you think you know brain freeze, but you don't. Like you can drink 3 milkshakes and you haven't experienced brain freeze like I have recently, and like up there in the lakes near Kosciuszko, like when you dive down head first in 6-degree water and you just. You freeze your fucking hypothalamus, man. Like that's your control center for homeostasis. And as soon as you put that deeply under and you start to swim, it's like I don't know how you do that. So yeah. There's a friend of mine who.
How far has he gone underwater?
Stig?
Yeah,
I think it's 96 meters
in the cold.
Yeah, I don't know if with fins or without fins, but yeah.
Either way, pretty impressive.
Yeah, pretty impressive. Yeah, because then holding your breath in those kind of conditions is a whole different. Like the resources that your body's massive. So not down. Like down, I don't think anybody's been really deep, but straight line.
Yeah. That's got to be a whole new challenge, like you said, on the breathing and
and
the mental.
Like as soon as I started to get into it, there's a friend of mine in the Netherlands that does it too. She's quite well known for it. Not so much for doing anything really impressive, but more so for telling a beautiful story about it and being just an amazing woman and person. And yeah, really having so she got quite well known on YouTube, and they made some really cinematic stuff about her. So went to New Zealand last year to shoot a documentary about her, and I was safety diving her, and we're teaching this group of people, teaching them how to free dive in cold water. But again, like it's fucking impossible. There is no such thing. So don't really know how I ended up there, but I might report back to you in a year and see if I've actually accomplished some stuff. Yeah. Deepest I've gone now is like 18 meters, and it's like what's the worst? Like I got out, not there anymore. Yeah, and you're getting up to these lakes. Well, you don't have to, I suppose. If it's a bit like in Australia, we don't really have like other people would have clear access to this, but for us, we're in the snowy mountains, right? So this was like we'll go there. Yes. You and I will have a dip there, but
sick.
This was an 8K hike up to this lake in the snow, like walking through fucking looks like Alaska up there, you know, and you're far out, and then you're out there with your gear, and then you're diving there, and you're getting out, and you're like, better do some of that horse dancing now. better use some of these tools. So yeah, the cold, but on a day-to-day basis, it's more, I've got the chest freezer set up.
Yep.
I think you should get it here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's time.
So you've just retrofitted your own chest freezer,
It's so easy, man. You just buy one.
Yep.
Put a little bit of sealant in the corners and you fill it up with water.
And you get
done.
2 minutes a day.
Yeah. You might get some PRs. Like I find this a pretty interesting theory, and I do it right before I train. So I'll do it right before, and it's just, I mean, you feel it, right? You get out and you get that sort of urge, and the blood flows a bit better, everything pumps a bit quicker, you get some of that EPO, and you just go.
You just feel energized.
You know? I imagine, like, with what you guys are doing, instead of the slap in the face, just a big...
Oh, he'll probably still slap his face.
There must still be a slap in the face.
Dunk in the eyes?
Yeah.
Like you were doing today. It's amazing. So dunk under a couple times and then get someone to slap you in the face and then run up to that bar.
Then hit some squats. I'm willing to test that
You'll
theory.
do anything. I know you.
Yeah.
Trying to handle and wrangle him is the hardest job I'll ever do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Because you get to slap him.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's the favorite pastime.
Right.
It's amazing. We just
Which is the
connect in
best
this
bit.
awesome flow state of just slapping. I'm the slapper and you're the slappy.
I'm slappy. Sometimes I'll slap myself too, double slap.
Always.
You slap me, I slap me. Yeah.
That's the way it works.
Is there like different points that you slap for? Like,
I like
is it
the
just
face.
Yeah. Okay.
He does the back.
It's probably like some acupressure points that you want to slap.
I can
as
tell you a
well.
very strong lesson I learned. Don't slap your face near your ear.
You perforate.
I perforated my eardrum.
Right. So that's without. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
just-
literally just slapped himself.
But I still got the deadlift. I still picked it up. Intense ringing, incredibly unbalanced, and had no idea what was going on
Yeah,
in
it
the room.
would throw your balance off.
Yeah, it was
would throw your brain off.
bizarre. But I had to go.
And you're on a stage.
Yeah, no, I was in
right.
training.
Okay.
It wasn't even in comp.
No, it was
Still a cool story.
just a training session.
Right.
Yeah, I think all this stuff sounds pretty cool. I think there'd be some great benefits for our powerlifting crew just for recovery.
Oh man.
As well, like coming
Yeah.
from
Oh, 100%.
off a, when I finish a heavy session, incredibly heightened, like that fight response, not flight. I'm not running away from that bar. I'm fucking angry, aggressive, but that can take all night or the next day before I come back down again.
And that's
That's the bad thing.
that's what we're finding now, right? With the rings and the heart rate variability story, basically, right? Which most athletes are the pro ones. They're all being tracked. They've all got their markers on this, and it's really about that story. It's like recovery is where it's at, not training. It's recovery is where it's at, and really interesting how you can note that. And I think a big part of that is the upregulation and the downregulation. So you're talking about upregulation, with the slabbing and the ice. And
We
very
upregulate
important.
very well.
Yeah, I think you guys are
Powerlifters
actually really good. A lot of guys could
downregulate
learn that from
really bad.
learn from your ways of upregulating. Because I teach people how to upregulate as well, using the breath, right? So there's different breathing protocols you could do that would sort of mimic a state like that. But it won't be as effective as just getting in each other's face and fucking screaming and slapping. Like that's some of the deeper sort of
But I
that's the
think where the
sympathetic driver
breathing
for
comes
you.
in is the amount of times I've been like over-regulated.
The down-regulating, man.
And then it's just like,
Yes.
I got to bring myself back down to perform.
Yes.
It all comes from breath.
And that's the magic. And that's what, if somebody wants to learn about breathing, that's where it becomes applicable. It's the you having the off switch.
Yeah.
It's you having the ability to essentially lower your heart rate, control your nervous system, but you having the ability to say, cool, now it's time to slow it down. And there's you could do some really simple, amazing things. Like after you train, just put your feet on the wall up so that there's less blood flow, right? It slows your heart rate down, and just lay there watching your breathing like you were saying for 5 minutes. That'll do it. Might be the last thing you feel like doing when you're in that state, because you just want to fucking keep going, right? You want to do everything, but being able to sort of push yourself towards that down regulation, because it is like you're saying, the quicker you hit off mode, the quicker the recovery begins. The quicker, it's catabolic, anabolic. I don't need to talk to you guys about this, but it is really amazing how you can start to be more aware of that, and how the breathing is ultimately the one switch that you have. Like that's the one button that you have, right? That's the one thing that you can control within the whole autonomic nervous system is the breath. So learning a couple protocols and maybe instilling some of these things into the guys, like cool. And with comp as well, right? Because same with beforehand, man. Like you're able to wrap yourself up to the highest gear basically right before, but even you being in a stressful state the night before is going to affect you negatively. You want to ideally you would be chilled in the morning. You'd have your complete flow, and then just right before, you probably need a bit of an hour of the warm up and the going, but you wouldn't want to be doing that 48 hours beforehand in your mind, which we know is just as potent as a stressor as the body, right? Like you can have a full adrenaline blood flow, you can be in that sympathetic fight flight, which is wearing you down just by the thought of being on a stage and performing in front of all these people. And that's probably why you're hitting so much less in your comp than you are in your training phases, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it's also really useful then to have some of these breathing protocols.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
To have some of this control where you can go.
We spend a lot of energy just visualizing it on the platform, but we don't know what toll that's taking us, because we're like, we don't associate it. I think there's a big misconception with how we visualize the energy that takes, and we don't associate it as like the same stress that a physical workout would.
It is.
But stress is stress.
Yeah, it is. It
And the
is.
same-
And the anxiety is more what I would be afraid of too, right?
Yeah.
Like, night before, if you don't sleep well, that's going to fuck you up. If you're anxious, and then you can use breathing. You can use some of these breathing practices to calm you down, and on a very visceral level, and you'll sleep a bit better and you have a bit less anxiety, right? And then so that's kind of what I teach people now, is that up and down, the different gears along the way, and how you can really use the breath.
Yeah, know when it's time to be up and
when it's time to be down.
know when it's time to be
And
down.
man, 90% of the time is down.
Yeah, 100%.
Trust me, like,
even like we spend
90% of life is down, and then you want to have that on time, just short and sweet and real good. But life happens in the down zone, man. Communication happens in the down zone. Relationships happen in the down zone. Food happens in the down zone. Growth, learning, it's all things that happen in that parasympathetic. That doesn't happen in that zone.
Yeah.
Very little happens there. Lifting weights happens there.
Yeah, lifting weights. But if we look at competition, we spend maximum 9 minutes on a platform out of a whole day.
Yeah.
Now
So ideally, and this would be a dream scenario, but like, you know,
you'd want to come straight back down.
you'd want to be down before and you want to come straight back down. Yeah, that would be really fucking ideal. But that would be like, I think that would just be really, like, I imagine standing on a platform there. I imagine the day before, you
don't want to be
a week before, man. Like, you know, this is going to be a pressure moment, and you've been working up to this, but you know, there's people watching, and there's things going on, and there's voices in the back of your mind about you making it, and last time this happened, and that's a lot. That's a lot.
We need to release this before next weekend.
Yeah.
Before the comp.
Yeah, one of the biggest comps in Australia is on next weekend that Brando's got a crew down there lifting at.
That's cool, man.
I feel like
how many guys?
I feel like Kane needs this.
How many guys guys and girls overcook themselves
every
on
week.
comp week?
Every week.
But the best peak, they have comp week, and then.
But see, this is the thing. I think as what you were saying before, you know, they visualize themselves on the platform, but they peak also for training. They don't peak for the day. You know, they spend all this energy thinking about, I've got to do this in the gym. And they forget about the day, so they come in really overcooked into the day instead of just backing it off breathing.
Yeah.
That's a really good point, though.
It's a tricky one, man.
100%.
It's a tricky one.
But I think
because I don't know too much about powerlifting, but you've probably already hit those numbers that you're going for in the comp, right? Like you've hit them in your training zone.
You're in the ballpark of where you should be.
Yeah, you've hit them in the training zone, and that's. But I think it'd be easier to hit them in the training zone, right? Because that's your safe space, man.
Yeah.
That's where you're you, and that's where you got your coach and you got your setup, and I imagine that it's a very safe, comfortable place for you to be. Whereas as soon as you get out of that environment, there's a whole lot of different mechanisms going on in the body and the brain that take up resources that you need to lift that barbell, right? But you do have the breath.
Yeah, that's the one thing though that's consistent is your breath.
Yeah.
You know, you could have a different bar, you can be in a different crowd, you can be in a different gym, whatever the fucking scenario environment is. But the one thing you can come back to is your center point.
Yeah.
And that's what I really try and drill home, is that no matter what's going on around you, it's just you and your breath out there.
Right.
And that's all you've got.
So that is what I come in. That's part of your training.
100%.
You should be training your breathing. You should be training your state regulation. It's as much part of your protocols as all the other stuff. It's part of what you should be doing, because the more that you train this and the more that you build that self-awareness and the more that you build that muscle and those off buttons, you install all those things, that's where it becomes useful. That's where you get that self-control to be able to say, cool, I can now switch on, I can switch off. And that's what's ultimately going to, like, you know, looking at competition, everybody's training, right? Like everybody's got that one. Everybody's going hard. The coaches even, like, you guys are onto the same sort of knowledge and stuff, right? Different protocols and different ideas, but it's pretty fair competition, right? So you having a few things like that, if you're the master of your breath, you've got an edge, you know? You've got an edge.
How many people are going to start doing breathing drills after this?
Fucking hope everyone, because everyone should be listening.
If you're my client, you're listening, you need this.
It'd be cool, man. It'd be cool to
it would be, man.
bring some of this into the powerlifting community. You know, we could do some.
Do you consider yourself a biohacker?
Yeah, I think so. Well, yeah, look, I've put myself online as it at some point, so I better say yes.
That's the problem.
It's an interesting term. Yeah, I think it's shifting and shaping as well. Like there's a hardcore niche there too. There's guys that are putting chips in and twitching the DNA and things like that now that are.
It's actually becoming bio.
Yeah,
like we're
genome typing and sequencing and different things. Like you can actually hack your biology now, which is different than, you know, you're wearing an Oura ring and you're putting a blue, like a red light in the evening and you sit in the sauna every day. I do those things.
Yeah.
I'll wear my blue light blockers when I get out of here before I get home. So I have my, you know, circadian rhythm in set. Little things. I'm just interested in being healthier. I do like the idea because you're not hacking is too intense, but you're sort of coming closer to your biology.
You're understanding it more as well.
Yeah.
All these tools are really giving us information, but again, the best information we can get is just checking in with ourselves.
Fuck yeah. And then, maybe the best biohackers are actually some of the people that are just living close to nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where the answers are.
And you seem to sound like you're definitely on a quest for like more knowledge and trying to learn more things. Like, where do you sort of find all your resources from?
Good question, man. I don't know if I'm really so much looking for more resources at the time. I think I was given a couple of really interesting ones. It's an interesting thought I had the other day where I was creating this book list that I want to give people after they do my programs, right? So I was really thinking you should have received it. And I was thinking, what do I put in? Because obviously there's going to be books about breathing and some of the guys that I really look up to and some of the things that I've learned a lot from, and put them all in there, but also some on a personal level. And I was looking at this list and I was going, I've read them all about 3-4 times, and I'll probably just read them again. And I'll probably not look too much further. I feel like with these 10 books, I've got a really amazing arsenal that I can actually learn from, I don't know, at least for the last couple of years. Like, there's enough information in there for me to keep learning and keep growing and keep integrating, rather than me to grab the next book and grab the next bit of information. And that's kind of an issue I face a lot today, is that there's so much fucking information, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's writing books, everybody's putting stuff out, everybody's on the edge, and then you get this new thing, and you get this new thing, and you can buy a biohacker's handbook, right? There's a couple of them that are really amazing. Like Dave Asprey's got one, Ben Greenfield's got one, this guy's got one, this guy's got one, and they put thousands of pages of information compressed into 400 pages of, and you're reading this thing and like, but are you actually going to integrate, use, or implement any of that?
Yeah.
So I actually don't want to buy those books, man.
Ben Greenfield's probably the main guy in our space, and he's fucking, like, he's intense. Like, that guy's a monster.
Yeah, it's fucking
But
sharp.
it's what he does.
And sometimes I listen to his podcasts and I'm like, do I really want that?
Yeah, exactly.
Feels that really beneficial for me too now? Like, that I really like actually learn, because he talks amazingly insightful and
he's
good
so
communicator,
intelligent,
and he says all these things, but when you listen to that, do you then have it? Or is it actually gives me anxiety a little bit. It's like, oh fuck, so there's another 5 supplements I gotta learn about and take. And
it's like, fuck, I have to do this too. These guys are
you're not
telling me
gonna
to
do
breathe.
that until the next, like when the next podcast comes out, you haven't learned anything new. You haven't actually picked up those things, you know? So I think I'm sort of sticking with what I've been picked up, because it makes a lot of sense.
I like what you said before about going back to reread those books, because you'll pick up something new that you didn't see before.
Yeah, man.
And I feel like you only get what you're ready for. So when you go back and read it the next time, you're like, fuck, I ticked this off. What's the next thing?
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. And a lot of the things that I've been doing in my own sort of personal development side of things now, it's a lot more intuitive. It's the shamanic stuff, and it's the men's work and those things. And it's moving away from all the very physical, which is still kind of a heady approach, right? The doing and the fixing. It's moving a lot more into the being realms, and the learning that all the work I have to do is actually, like, it isn't work where you're doing external in, it's work where you're doing internal in. It's just all there. And I think that's a big lesson I got late last year. It was like, it's all there. There's nothing else I need to. There's no other thing I need to buy or get or do.
You've got it.
Just need to find some of these spotlights that can beam inside.
Yeah, well,
Cool, man.
It's not easy.
You got the...
Yeah, so
before we finish up, we've got
10 big questions.
Now, these are bigger than the first one.
Bigger than the 21 words, bigger than anything we've covered already, which was big.
It's pretty big.
Oh, wait, this is new for everyone.
No, Paul did it.
No, he didn't.
And you did it.
I did it.
You did it.
Oh, yeah.
He did it. But I think what we've covered is that they're big questions.
Cool.
They're very quick questions.
So
Quick
rapid
answers.
fire.
I'm going to answer. I'm not going to answer.
You're
them.
not gonna
You're
answer.
going to answer them. I'm going to ask them, and you're going to answer them quickly. You ready?
Cool.
Favorite book?
Papillon.
Oh, can I get the title of that?
Well,
Papillon, French for butterfly.
ooh,
Right.
cool.
No, you're on
No,
that. Cool.
write that down.
Sweet.
If you lived on an abandoned island for 40 days after a plane crash, who would you want to live with? You can only live with one person.
My lady friend in Sydney.
Beautiful answer.
beautiful.
She's going to listen to this and be like, bonus round.
Now, are you prepared to eat a person on that island if you get hungry?
I'd eat this person, yeah.
That is the best
Bam.
answer we have ever gotten. Not saying much because I was the only other one answer it so far, but that is the best. Can we emphasize that? Can you replay
Dog
it?
or cat?
Dog.
Yes.
Good answer.
Not even a question.
What superpower would you like to have?
Yeah, maybe vision.
Cool. What type of apple are you?
I hate Apple. I hate anything Mac Apple. I'm not into it.
So
I'm
you're not
Fuji.
You're a Fuji, not an apple. Is the tooth fairy real?
Yes.
Told you. What is your secret talent?
Vision.
Yes. That's it.
I like those answers.
Yeah, they were
were
good.
some of the best
Is that
answers.
10?
Yeah, we got 10.
Is that 10?
Maybe it's 9.
This is why I count now. That's the best ever.
Yeah,
Mate,
man.
thank you so much. Like giving up your time. Obviously, it's for those who don't know, it's a Sunday night. You know, it's what time is it now?
I've been going all day, man.
Yeah,
It's been
nearly
great.
8:30.
Pumping
So
all day.
Yeah, man.
and after a long day of seminar as well. So we really appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk to us two idiots. And mate, hopefully when you're back in town, obviously you're traveling around a bit, we'll get you back on. We'll share some more.
It's blessed, man. I want to come train.
Yeah, we will.
Oh,
be in
he's
here.
done. I heard
You
Max
love
squat.
this place.
I'll lift light. But
We'll
I'll
get
just-
some knee
I'll
wraps.
just-
We'll
Knee
put you in a
wraps, squat suit,
suit.
briefs. We're in, mate. You're all in now. Face slaps. We got it all.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Nice.
Thank you so much. Where do we find you?
My name.
Name?
Which might not be the greatest.
We'll put it all in the show notes. Instagram.
Johannes Egberts.
Yeah. And
That's it.
that's it. Instagram? No, we said Instagram. Facebook?
Yeah. Facebook, Instagram.
Cool.
Yeah.
Easy done. We'll put that all in the show notes. Like, share, subscribe, share with a friend. Breathe. Please, if you want to help, let us know. Like, slide into our DMs. We've got
Same
time.
here, man. Just reach out.
It's perfect.
Absolutely.
We're done. Thank you.
Once being on that. Yeah. Beginning already.